The Trump threat to deport migrant workers, implications for USA farmers and food security. The reliance of the U.S. agricultural industry on migrant labor is no secret. With an estimated 44% of the farming workforce being undocumented immigrants, the sector depends heavily on these individuals to plant, tend, and harvest crops. However, President Trump's threats to report and deport millions of migrant workers, a key promise during his campaign, have sparked widespread concern among farmers. The implications of such measures could prove devastating not only for the agricultural industry but also for food security in America. Farmers fear for the future. Lifelong farmer Joe Del Bosque, who grows cantaloupes and almonds in California, highlights the dilemma facing many in the agricultural sector. When they're needed, they welcome them. When they don't need them, they want to kick them out, says Del Bosque, emphasizing the indispensable role of migrant labor. He fears that deportation plans could leave farmers like him without enough workers to harvest food, leading to shortages and skyrocketing prices. Similar concerns are echoed by Rick Neerbout, executive director of the Idaho Dairy Producers Association. He warns that the sudden disappearance of skilled laborers could have catastrophic consequences. It would only take a couple days of disruption and not being able to feed or milk our cows to where you would damage our industry beyond repair, Neerbout stated. The migrant labor reality. Farm work in the U.S. is grueling, with tasks often performed under extreme weather conditions. Despite the challenges, migrant workers fill roles that domestic workers are unwilling to take. According to a University of Michigan survey, only a fraction of job openings in agriculture attract U.S.-born workers. For example, a contractor offering 6,000 agricultural jobs received fewer than 30 domestic applications, with only 2 hires who didn't stay until harvest. Economists, including David Ortega, acknowledge the critical role migrant workers play in food production. These are individuals that perform essential, very labor-intensive tasks like planting and harvesting, Ortega said. Many of them fill critical roles that many U.S.-born workers are either unable or unwilling to perform. Implications of deportation plans. Labor shortages and food supply disruption. Without migrant workers, many farms would come to a halt. This would lead to reduced crop yields, unharvested produce, and ultimately, a disruption of the food supply chain. Economic fallout for farmers. Farmers, especially small-scale operators, are already operating on razor-thin margins. The loss of labor would force them to turn to costly alternatives like automation or higher-priced domestic labor, threatening their survivability. Higher food prices and food insecurity. Reduced agricultural output would result in higher food prices, disproportionately affecting low-income families and worsening food insecurity. Long-term industry damage. Disruptions in farming could ripple through related sectors like food processing, transportation, and retail, causing widespread economic instability. Political posturing versus practical solutions. Despite the urgency of the issue, political gridlock has prevented meaningful immigration reform for decades. Farmers like Tom Barcelos believe common sense will prevail, noting that raiding farms would harm the U.S. food supply and raise consumer costs. However, others fear that political posturing may continue to take precedence over practical solutions. Rick Neerbout captures this frustration. We've been trying to find a pathway forward to reforms at a national level for 20 years, and both Democrats and Republicans are at fault. The problem presents itself as a great political fundraiser and stump speech. A call for action. Farmers like Del Bosque and industry leaders are advocating for immigration reform that reflects the realities of the agricultural sector. They emphasize the need for a reliable, legal workforce to ensure food security. As Del Bosque points out, if Americans value fresh fruits and vegetables in their diet, they need to consider that we have to have a reliable workforce to have a reliable food supply. President Trump's proposed deportation measures have brought the challenges faced by farmers to the forefront. Without a balanced approach to immigration reform, the consequences could be devastating for farmers, consumers, and the nation's food security. It's time for policymakers to prioritize solutions that support the agricultural sector and the essential workers who sustain it.